North Beach, the downtown area, the uptown area. It's happening. You walk around the street or you drive by, you see people with signs saying homeless, need food, something like that, and you give them change. But now, nobody knows about the city ordinances that have been put in place for the past 6 years. Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. How do we stop panhandling? Well, the obvious solution is don't give them money. But you don't know there are two ordinances that the city has put in place back in 2013. One is being able to ask for money without a reflective vest. The other is aggressive panhandling. That was put in place. As we're about to show you, there have been no citations for aggressive panhandling, but there's been citations for people who have not been wearing a reflective vest. How come? Here's Seth Kovar.
My wife took my kids when I lived in Nebraska. I used to be a 4-star chef. I used to make $100,000 a year.
That's how Skippy, spelled S-K-P-Y, says he ended up on the streets. I ran into him at SPID at Staples Street, a common spot for panhandlers. But is that what he's up to?
I will not confirm nor deny those allegations.
He keeps it light with signs that read anything green, bad legal advice by the hour, and at least give me the finger. But sometimes panhandlers' requests for money go too far.
You know, you walk by, they'd ask, and they ask again, they start yelling at you. We can curb that kind of behavior.
They can do that because of Corpus Christi's aggressive panhandling ordinance. Anywhere in the city, if a panhandler touches you or makes you afraid, police can step in. Without it, officers can only do so much.
It's a constitutional thing to be able to ask somebody for something, but then not to make them feel like they're in fear. So it was written for that purpose. And that's really been a good ordinance for us.
Good for compliance without making arrests. A Chris 6 open records request found that there have been 0 arrests or even tickets issued for aggressive panhandling. That's because instead of reaching for handcuffs, officers let the panhandler know they're breaking the law and make them move along.
The goal is not to see how many citations we can issue. It's to curb behavior, and that ordinance is very well.
Officers have written tickets for panhandlers violating another ordinance. If you want to ask for money along the side of the road, you have to wear a reflective safety vest. Another Chris 6 open records request found that in the 6 years the ordinance has been on the books, there have been 20 tickets, and there's no word of any arrests. Assistant Chief Mark Schauer says arresting a homeless panhandler doesn't accomplish much because of how the municipal court system works.
All we're doing is putting you in a detention center for a couple hours until you can be processed and then you're let go.
Police also stepped in when businesses call. A worker at a store at Morgan and Crosstown who doesn't want to be identified says she has to call the cops every day because of panhandlers hassling her customers to the point where they turn away. It can be a problem downtown, too.
We do occasionally see panhandlers in the downtown area.
The Downtown Management District works hard to improve the area's image. That's why that group urges people to report panhandlers if they feel threatened.
Work with business owners to help combat this issue so that we can bring more people down here and let them know that it is a safe area for them to come.
Another way to combat the issue, just don't give panhandlers money. Assistant Chief Schauer says that person may be a scammer posing as homeless. And he says they might use the money for booze or drugs instead of food.
When you're giving it, folks, the best thing you can really do is give it to a charity, give it to a nonprofit. And filter that money and use it appropriately.
Like finding housing and jobs for people like Skippy.
Some people give me dirty looks, some people laugh. It's all good though. As long as they make eye contact, that's worth it.
The Downtown Management District created the Downtown Need Network for people who want to help panhandlers but don't simply want to give them cash. The information's on cards like this one that you can find at several downtown businesses. Lee?
All right, Seth, thank you very much. Now, if you do have some spare change you'd like to donate, there are 6 donation stations throughout the city. Now, basically, these are old parking meters that have been converted to collect change that's then donated to local groups that do help out and support the homeless.
And if you don't, and like I said before, it happened yesterday. And on Monday, I saw 2 people. One person was homeless. He was in there doing his thing. I wanted to step in and be like, hey, you need to have a reflective vest on. But I couldn't do it because I don't want to be attacked. Because that would have happened. I would have had this person put in cuffs and say, hey, you know, you assaulted me, this, and that. But right now, it's time for y'all to be understanding this ordinance. Because if you don't understand this ordinance, you're going to right now. In Corpus Christi, it's against the law to solicit or accept funds from a vehicle occupant while standing in the road without a reflective safety vest. If you're asking for money or donations from people and vehicles while standing in a roadway, you are required to wear a reflective safety vest. Aggressive panhandling, where someone uses aggressive or obscene language or doesn't take no for an answer, is also illegal in Corpus Christi and not tolerated. So if you're in the downtown, uptown, and northtown areas, it's prohibited. If you feel threatened or unsafe due to panhandling, you're encouraged to call the police so they can be aware of the situation and take appropriate action. Also, instead of giving cash to panhandlers, CCPD is saying to donate to charitable organizations that help the homeless population. It's not about putting them in jail. What it's all about is reducing the homeless population here in the state of Texas. And again, don't give them any dough. Leave it. Don't give them any. The best thing you can do right now is to find them some help. There are homeless shelters here in every community that you live in. Help them out. Let's reduce the homeless population here in the state of Texas, and as ordinary citizens, enforce the ordinances. If we don't, we're going back to when the ordinance was not put in place. Trust me, I don't want that happening. Baltimore County is under attack from every single scandal. Now, the new scandal approaches as the spending comes to a halt while the schools owe them money. Next, we're going to find out why the schools owe money to the taxpayers. And even then, there might be some clues as to where the money comes from. Please stay with us. I also want to point out here that this Corpus Christi Police Department has been made aware of panhandlers in various intersections throughout the city, soliciting for donations. So, like I said again, if you see this happening and you feel like nothing's being done, you're encouraged to contact your local police department or call the non-emergency number 886-2600, and they'll help you out in any way, shape, or form. Let's face it, we need to get homeless. We got to reduce the homeless population, not just in this city, in the state, which is why the ban camping bill is put in place. And I should point out though, there's no state law which says no state law against panhandling, but every single ordinance in the city here in the state of Texas has ordinances similar to this. And coming in some future episodes, we are going to be showing you some more reports about homelessness in Corpus Christi. This was a special release by Channel 6 5 years ago, and now a lot of people are saying, "How do we do this?" I mean, we build shelters, but nothing's happening. And the future reference is, I'm going to have my good friend Joe Kramer come on the broadcast. He is a member of Taking Back the Bluff, which is created on Facebook, and has followed Citizens Council. And we're also going to have on Caleb Paxton District 4, who one of her missions is to help the homelessness in the city. That's going to be on a future. Give me a break.
You might know Harbor Freight for affordability. What you might not know is performance.
All right. 24 counties of Baltimore City. If you live in one of those 24 counties, you might be owing some money. Projected costs associated with school spending and the blueprint for Maryland's future are surging. In total, they're now projected to owe billions more than previously estimated. So, could you get that money back, or could the bureaucracy be involved and not give the taxpayers the money back? And the GOP, the Maryland GOP, they're not surprised, not even the state. So, who's watching who? Here's Chris Papps.
Maryland House of Delegate Republicans, Matt Morgan.
Everything we said 3 years ago that we couldn't afford the blueprint,
is coming true.
April Miller.
Our counties can't afford it. The only way they can do it is to increase property taxes.
And Kathy Schlega
They are actually building a plane while they fly it.
are not surprised by what Project Baltimore just told them concerning how much money the blueprint for Maryland's future is now projected to cost taxpayers.
This is a self-inflicted problem. Are there any additional amendments to the bill until it's tight?
The blueprint for Maryland's future passed in 2021. The law pumps billions of additional state and local tax dollars into public education every year. The blueprint, in part, increases teacher salaries, expands pre-K, and doubles teacher collaboration time. But now, new numbers released by the state are showing the blueprint will cost local jurisdictions far more money than previously projected. Take a look at these two charts. The first was released in 2022 by the Maryland Department of Legislative Services, DLS. It estimates how much money in the coming years the blueprint is projected to cost taxpayers in Maryland's 24 local jurisdictions. This second chart, released last month, represents DLS's updated projections, and when Project Baltimore compared the two, we learned the differences are significant. In 2022, for example, just 3 years ago, DLS estimated the blueprint would cost local jurisdictions a total of $7.5 billion during fiscal year 2025. But look at this. The current 2025 estimates now show it'll cost $8.2 billion. The projections were off by around $700 million. In 2026, initial projections estimated the blueprint would cost counties $7.7 billion. Now, the cost in 2026 is projected to be $8.4 billion. If we compare the differences in the projections over just the next 5 years, the blueprint will cost local taxpayers $3.7 billion more than the state previously estimated. That's a 9.5% increase. How did this happen?
I am not surprised at all that the estimates were low. I think that there was a movement to pass this bill and an excitement here that the people crunching the numbers were looking for the best case scenario they could find.
In an email, DLS told Fox 45 News the initial projections were inaccurate due to a combination of factors. First, over the last 3 years, local jurisdictions varied in how they funded education. Those differences affected the projections in subsequent years. Secondly, in 2022, Maryland's legislature passed a law shifting more of the funding burden for the blueprint from the state to the counties. And lastly, the blueprint significantly increases funding for schools with high concentrations of poverty. And in 2022, according to DLS, as a result of the COVID pandemic, the state underestimated the number of students who would be living in poverty. Think about that for a second. The state is partially blaming the COVID pandemic for miscalculating the blueprint's costs. But the blueprint was passed during the pandemic. Lawmakers knew the projected cost estimates may not be accurate, but they passed it anyway. And now taxpayers have to pay for it. Now that we're getting a better understanding of how much the blueprint is going to cost, in hindsight, was it a mistake to pass the blueprint during the COVID pandemic?
No, certainly not. Look, there's no better time than now to make sure that we're investing in a world-class public education system here in Maryland.
Maryland State Senate President Bill Ferguson told Fox 45 News it's common for public budgeting projections to fluctuate because formulas and assumptions change over time.
We know that public education is critical.
I understand what you're saying, but the reality is taxpayers by law now have to pay $700 million more in just 1 year. That's a lot.
If we want to create a society and where everybody has the opportunity to truly thrive, we have to invest in our public education system to give children a chance to meet their potential.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
I'm Chris. Like I said, every state law says Every law says that you're required to go to school. But the thing is, like, kids don't go to school living in poverty. They raise the tax dollars. The public's suffering, and the taxpayers are hurting. And even people are sitting there saying, we blame COVID, we blame Trump. The Debs never take accountability. Maybe people will pay more attention to who and what they're voting for. Probably not, though. Don't expect to see that money in the classrooms. It never happens. Billions of dollars and no performance metrics. When you ask academics what they need to succeed, they dream big with no responsibility or obligation to perform. Maryland is going down to further abyss. Who were the first ones in Les Moore's pocket? You already know. Lawmakers just be responsible for these plans and bills. All those hardworking people just keep getting burned by their decisions. We elect them to help us. But all they keep doing is hurting us. Should they be donating their salary for some more money and no results? If we look at a graph from back in 2006, the line would go straight up. Student achievement goes flat. Graduation rates, flat. The extra money didn't help the kids. This guy makes a good point. More money, but no results. I mean, think about it. $10,000 per child for a class of 25. It's like $250,000 a year. But if you raise property taxes, we're paying more. Get out of Maryland. State's getting stuck here. Bureau of Workers needs to pay for this. We don't want to create nothing. You do. We can't even afford BGE. Now you want us to pay for this? Lower the taxes. Lower the taxes. Give the kids the money. Attach it to the child. To escape that bureaucracy. Put them in charter schools. Have school choice. It may not work in the state of Texas, but the state of Maryland needs to start lowering its tax rate and put in more charter schools. Now, I'm not going to criticize teaching in the state of Maryland, but, we need to make sure that everybody gets their good education. The public's suffering, like teachers not being paid enough. Cut the budget. If we don't cut the budget, we're paying more. And if we don't pay more, then even then, we'll be uncertified to teach. The question is, who is teaching our kids when it comes to shit like this? All you need is, that's how it is. Who's teaching our children? Please stay with us. Welcome back. Parents, you need to listen closely because your child's education could be in jeopardy. I've had teachers who are certified teachers who went to college and got their teaching degree. The only thing you need is a teaching degree and a bachelor's degree to become a teacher. But now, there's now a new movement called uncertified teachers. Uncertified and unqualified teachers. So the question is, who is teaching our children? Well, if you watched the Dr. Phil Primetime about a day or two ago, you might have a question about who's teaching your child and not realizing that, maybe the answer is just, well, I love working with kids. So what's really going on? Let's take a look.
Parents, you need to listen closely to what we are discussing tonight. Why? Because your child's education may be in serious jeopardy. Think about this. The person who cuts your hair, the plumber who unclogs your toilet, even the nail tech giving you a manicure, all have gone through hands-on training, obtained a license or certification, required to enter the workforce. But when it comes to school teachers, those hired to inspire and educate our children, many states have literally lowered the standards and requirements once needed to enter the classroom. That's right. Schools across the country are hiring uncertified teachers. That's right, no certification and no experience needed. In many cases, all that's required is any bachelor's degree and a background check. And it's not just a few of these uncertified educators being hired. Last year, there were nearly, wait for it, 400,000 uncertified teachers employed in districts across the country. The result? Research shows months of lost learning for students each year, as well as a serious impact on their future. You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And let me be clear, the majority of uncertified teachers are well-intended. They want to do a great job, but they're being placed in a very tough position. And many principals and superintendents will argue, what are we supposed to do? Leave the classroom empty during a historic teacher shortage? We're trying our best. But that best has come at a serious cost, and our children have become the collateral damage.
That's how it is, you know. The superintendent's sitting there scratching their heads going, what are we supposed to do? We're trying to get our teachers back. And the best that we can do is just lower expectations. No, I won't. Come on. This will be me with the paddle. And this will be me. Start a fight, and you won't win that battle. We need to... Okay. I've got a little crazy. We need the requirements back. We want the traditional... We want it back, you know. We need the training back. We need all this. But the truth is, everyone's saying, well, we're trying. Well, I don't need you trying. I need you doing. There is no try. There's doing. You don't, not just a bachelor degree to background check, you also need training. If you want to be a manager at McDonald's, you need training. That's how it is. I mean, I can just go, I'll bring my managers from McDonald's on this broadcast, and they'll tell you they've got their training. Is it the same thing as teachers? Should it be brought back? Yes. Why? Because a bachelor's degree and a background check won't help you out. You need training. And I can bring in my own teachers, and they'll tell you, yes, I've gotten certified, but they never left. They never left. That's what can happen. They lower the expectations, and nothing is being done except when no one gives a shit. I know teachers who have dropped down in that profession because of poor behavior of children and their parents. But now we know the truth. When we have unqualified teachers, test scores go low. This is how we know homeschooling is better than public education, because they whooped our asses. They whooped our asses. I mean, when test scores went up, Japanese whooped our asses. But we compare SAT. But if we show teachers use SAT scores, they'll probably come beat our asses with a big paddle and be like, "Don't compare us to test scores." I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. This was all on Stupid America back in 2012. You think I'm crazy? We've done education shows throughout the 8 years of Give Me a Break. And believe me, this has never, ever been brought up until tonight. Sure, this may get me demonetized, but everybody deserves to know the truth. Even people saying, well, you can't handle the truth. Students even have college level. I have a 5th grade vocabulary. Bring back phonics, classical literature, teach writing skills requiring higher vocabulary, and teach critical thinking skills. It's a crisis. Teachers don't care much about salary when there's no support and understanding from admin that have them in the classroom. Teaching is a passion for people, not a regular job. And you know why teachers are quitting? Because of student behavior. I mean, it's like, stop talking, break up that fight, keep your hands to yourself, sit up, wake up. They try, and it's like, you know what? Fuck this, I quit. Fuck you. I get it. I get where people are coming from. Don't quit. Don't give up. And there's also been instances where students attack their teachers. It's like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck are you kids fighting your teacher about? You know, your teacher tells you to do something, you do it. Because in life, you have to listen to your boss. And if your boss tells you to do something, what are you going to go do? Increase violence in the workplace? It's like, I don't know what it's like. I don't know how best to describe it. But if my friend Alyssa Lamb can come up with a case scenario, we would probably have a joke in line. But I ran out of jokes. But like I said, if Nancy Vera, the teachers union, will come on this broadcast to talk about this teacher shortage and what she thinks about uncertified teachers, she'd probably slap my face and be like, you know what you're talking about. I've had teachers. They've been certified. I got a good education. I've had a good education here in Flower Bluff from certified teachers. They knew what they did, and they did their best. But when it comes to uncertified teachers, that's just a little loophole. That's a loophole. It's like when you're paying your taxes, you take advantage of those loopholes. But now, 400,000 people took advantage of this loophole because they don't want to go through the certified teacher hoop. They want to go under the loop. If you go through the loop, you're a certified teacher. You go over the loop, you're perfect. But if you go under the loop, who cares? But if I came face to face with these uncertified teachers, I would tell them, hey, get your asses some training. You are not a certified teacher. You are uncertified. And if I went to these school boards, I would give them a nag and saying, hey, you need to start doing better. Don't be shutting down classrooms. You need to get back to the curriculum that was traditional. Because 400,000 people that are uncertified teachable, they're taking advantage of the situation. Over 400,000. You need to start doing better. You need to start putting training back on the line. That's why these teacher shortages have it, because no one wants to deal with the violence in the classrooms. Undervalued is not the word. Teachers are abused by the system. If we charge $16 per hour for every hour we spend prepping, grading, tutoring, or mentoring students, we will be rich. We teach because we love to teach. There are thousands of professors that ask for unemployment because they can hardly meet the ends due to low salaries. We are eternally broke. As a college professor, we get $5,000 per class per semester. If you do not teach at least 5 classes, which is a huge load of work for grading, and 5 classes are hard to get, your annual salary is worse than any full-time worker in Walmart or a fast food restaurant. In my case, I do what I like because my husband is the breadwinner. Otherwise, long ago, I would have left in the field. On the other side, principals make annually $450 to $500K per year. The worst thing that colleges do not want to hire is any full-time professors. So you don't have to pay a $75,000 a year to them. So we are undervalued. Only uncertified teachers want to do the job. Certified and experienced teachers are gone for good. Who wants to be a teacher of talented and disrespectful students or work under the woke school leaders that all they want to do is indoctrinate children? Hundreds of good teachers and professors are leaving the field due to lack of support to really teach students. The lack of respect for principals or senior professors and students, or simply because they are just tired from the poor salaries and the hours they spend after school grading or prepping. For what I have seen, only people that do not have a job and need one do know the choices go into teaching. As a professor, I hear the common conversation, and the theme of every conversation among the professors is students do not want to do any homework. They are constantly absent, and all of them want A's. And if you leave them lots of homework, they label you as a bad professor. I can't wait to retire. Not only student drop professors and professors and teachers are dropping the teaching jobs in huge numbers. They're not appreciated. They're not respected. And they're not paid well. Not even because we are the ones that prepare students for the future. When I ask my college students who wants to become a teacher over and over, the answer is none. That's the future of teaching. Thus, the districts that get what they find, and they get what they paid for. Parents demand good certified teachers, but they also demand for good teacher salaries and respect for them. That's great. That's coming from a certified teacher or a professor. I know many teachers out of school that have said they'd rather have no more than 20 students and admin and parent support were raised. And one person said, as a certified teacher myself, I don't think there's a difference between certified, trained teacher, and non-certified teacher. When I got certified and started teaching, I was forced to throw all my training out the window. I had to constantly tell my principal that I was doing what was based on what I learned in college and in research. But she kept saying it was wrong, so I couldn't do that. I had to start from zero. That's just micromanaging. For crying out loud, if you're a certified teacher, just simply tell them, I'm not throwing away what was being taught. If you don't like it, leave. What we value most in our lives is our children. How I hope one day that statement is true. For some parents, it is, but many see the school as a responsibility drop-off. As a country, we spend more on making weapons and education. As a country, we do not value children more than power. Numbers don't lie. When you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences, which is exactly right. And I may speak on my behalf, but like I said, if my teachers were to come over here and say and watch this episode, they clearly, that's going to lead me to our poll. So I'm going on the community page right now on the channel, and you're welcome to weigh in on giving great feedback. So what do you think? Should we fire, hire, or let go uncertified teachers? Should we hire, fire, or let go uncertified and unqualified teachers? That's going to be our poll and our feedback question. So you are welcome to feel free to vote. So, this is our question. There's also going to be a poll. This is not only going to be a feedback, this is also going to be a poll. So, what do you think? Should uncertified or unqualified teachers be allowed to teach or be let go, or should we have none at all? Give me some feedback on this poll. Give me some feedback on this poll. You're welcome to vote on this poll, or you're welcome to do a little bit of both. I want to hear your responses, and we'll have the results soon on our next Give Me a Break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. I mean, I'm going to tell you this right now. Y'all might be commenting here saying, well, you know nothing about teaching. You're damn right I don't know nothing about teaching. I mean, here's my challenge to every school district that's watching. Pick any school in any district, and I'll teach for one day. One day. Not even one, not even 2 days, not even 4, not even 5. I'll help you teach for about a week. I want to experiment. Uncertified, unqualified. I'm unqualified. I'm uncertified. Hire me, bitch. I don't have a college degree, but you could damn well hire me. I'm unqualified. I'm uncertified. But let me tell you, it may not be hard, but it's what we're dealing with nowadays because nobody wants to shut down the schools.
Hi, I'm Dr. Roxy Doucet, owner of Doucet Med Spa in Corpus Christi.
But
Not everyone.
it's... I mean, certified teachers fades away because nobody cares. Bachelor's degree and a background check is all it's required. No, you need certified teaching. If you want to become a teacher, these are the requirements. You need to have a teaching license. That's what's required here. No teaching license, you cannot teach. But, you know, I would play this full episode from Dr. Phil, but again, I would be demonetized if I was. Because this is getting ridiculous. Because what we're living in is a ridiculous society to where we hire... Because this is where we're at right now. We're at a situation where we don't need certification, we don't need qualification, we don't need any of that. You need a background check, you need to pass a background check, and you need to have a bachelor's degree. The government often demands licensing. You want to drive, you need a license. You want to have a lemonade stand, you need a permit. But government often demands licensing. And as we're about to tell you, it's the bottleneckers. Here's John Stossel.
Do you have a license? You better. Government often demands licenses before you're allowed to work. People think this is a good idea. We license drivers. We license dogs. People think it makes us safer. But licensing also does something bad.
If people want to work, let them work.
11-year-old Madison Root was told she could not work because she didn't have a license. She wanted money for braces, so she tried selling mistletoe. Here she is in a tree picking it. But when she went to sell it at this outdoor market, police told her, stop, that's illegal. They told her she could beg, but she can't sell anything. So her father sent us this video.
I was amazed that people cannot work hard, but they can be just lazy.
I assume that's not exactly what the cops meant, but the fact is, all over America, people want to work but can't because it's so hard to get proper licenses.
In the 1950s, well, only about 1 in 20 Americans needed the government's blessing to do their job. Today, that number is more than 1 in 3.
This new book, Bottleneckers, reveals how licensing rules allow older businesses to profit by keeping newcomers out.
These are people who want to erect barriers, who want to put in place bottlenecks because they want to keep competitors out.
It's kind of like what happens on a highway if you close a lane. The established existing businesses are like these motorcycles. Licenses don't slow them down. During my consumer reporter days, I assumed licenses protected us from scams like these.
We are not ripping people off.
But licensing doesn't stop that. Georgia funeral director who was pitching dead bodies out in the woods behind his funeral establishment. He was licensed. Bernie Madoff was licensed. Teachers in public schools who have sex with their students. Licensed. Licensing doesn't stop that.
What licensing does do is crush new entrepreneurs. Want to braid people's hair? This woman was told she couldn't do it legally unless she spent thousands of hours to get a cosmetology license. She begged the government, just let me braid.
I was making these phone calls to the Board of Cosmetology saying, I don't want to do cosmetology. All I want to do is braid hair.
No, not without our license, said the Cosmetology Board.
These are people who have a clear conflict of interest.
Of course they do. She wants to compete with them.
Cosmetologists got together and they went to the legislature and they lobbied for the creation of a license.
Makes me wonder, how could I get rid of my competition? I'm annoyed by all these TV channels. I'd like to limit that.
Yes, I'm sure. So what you need to do, John, is that you need to go to the government and ask for special protection. You need to claim that there's some public interest, some way that the public is going to be protected by limiting the number of providers.
And that actually happened in America.
When I started in TV, most viewers just had ABC, CBS, NBC, and boring public television. People could have had many more channels. Cable TV technology was available.
But lobbyists for my employer argued, no, that'll hurt poor people. They need broadcast TV. They can't afford cable.
So the FCC limited cable TV for years.
And that helped me make more money.
Certainly it does. That's the effect of licensing. That is, the people who are in the industry have the ability to artificially inflate prices and their wages as a result. And consumers are worse off.
I was better off.
You were much better off, but now we realize everyone else was worse off.
That's what the bottleneck does. It limits choices, thereby raising prices and enriching older businesses.
There are so many bottlenecks. We'll show you a bunch in the next episode.
We'll also show you how these problems can be better solved by the free market.
Market regulation actually is enough for the vast majority of occupations out there.
Bottleneckers around America. They make life worse for you.
And it even gets worse when you're. I mean, it's also the licensing racket. I mean, like we talked about, you need a license to teach, but what are people doing now? What are teachers doing nowadays? Having sex with a student. Rape is rape. Just rape is rape. But second chance denied.
I got another Papa Pairings order. I need 3 medium pepperoni, 2 orders wings, breadsticks, cheese.
Take your future into your own hands by getting an education that leads to job security.
Beauty schools promise people a new future.
Feeling like you might not be.
What's more American?
But it's the lawmakers, like, average everyday lawbreakers. Like, you need a license, like, years ago, you wanted to sell lemonade, you need a license to sell, you need a permit to sell lemonade. It's like we talked about. We looked in, like, if you remember watching this broadcast, we took a look into selling lemonade without a license. Texas was the first state to, was the first state to not have police officers shut down lemonade stands. Even if it was last National Lemonade Day, I would have gotten a food handler's permit and started selling lemonade on the intersection of Walter and SPID. That would have been so freaking cool. You got a permit? Right here. Where'd you get this from? The website? What website? I'll send you the link. You got to pay $7 for that. And speaking of which, I need to renew my permit. It already expired about 2 years ago, and if I don't do that, I'm going to be out of a job. They may loose me up and say, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it for you. No. We have to go through the standards. We got to follow the procedures. At work, there are procedures which you need to follow. There are rules, and there's procedures that you need to follow. I worked at McDonald's for 6 years, and I always know all the procedures that are being put in place. But if I didn't follow any one of those procedures, you know what would happen? I would be in big trouble. That's why they had me train new employees on following these new procedures. That way, they don't have to break the rules and not break the procedures. Remember back Mike Bartle's child? The policy, Mr. Potts said he couldn't change the policy because he wasn't the superintendent. But the procedure, or following the policy, they'll try to fix, which is not ridicule and a laugh. That's not the policy. But if that was the policy, that would have been changed right away to say, look, we don't need to be ridiculing these kids. Because they're going to go out, because it's going to happen to them. And believe me. We don't want that to happen. Okay. This is what I want to see happening, you know. I mean, going back to unteachable teachers, it's like, you know, we have to train them. Like, you know, you cannot be having sexual relations with a student. That's statutory rape in any of the 50 states. You know, what I learned from teachers is you cannot be friend requesting. You can't be having social media. If you have social media, don't be friend requesting your kids unless you are a charter school teacher. If you're a charter school teacher, that's all right. You gotta have your phone number on you at all times. But nobody can be understandable when it comes to stuff like this. And, you know, we dealt with stuff like this in this broadcast for 8 years. And now it may not be going out of hand. And, you know, it's something that we don't want to see every day. You know, teachers not following procedures, not following all the guidelines, you know. Here's the thing. I don't want my child, let me tell you, I am an uncle. And I don't want my nephews going to be going to school in the next 4 years. I do not want my nephew to be in front of an uncertified, untrained teacher. I want him to be, what I want my nephew to be with is a trained and certified teacher. So here's the thing, next school year, if your child is a new teacher, start asking questions. If people get concerned, then let them be concerned. Ask them, are you certified? If they tell you no, then maybe a bad sign that says she's not teachable. If they're uncertified or untrained, you need to move them on. Then either be stuck with that teacher or find a different school where you're zoned. That's the best advice I can give you. But the thing is, it's like superintendents are saying, what are we supposed to do? We're trying our best here. There's no trying. There's doing. And even the State Department of Education is one of the biggest culprits. It's like, what are we supposed to do? Close down our schools? Shut down our school system? We need our education. I don't know what to say. We're going to take a break. Right back. Welcome back. In the past few days, we have been seeing wildfires in the Sinton area. And on the last broadcast, we showed you some Tony Hall mirrors, some wildfires in the Sinton area on the south side. But for future reference, how can we protect ourselves from these wildfires? Some very best people are in for some great advice. Here's Victoria B.
And I look over there, everything they got is gone. And I look over here, Mr. Baker's still here.
Calvin Baker has lived off of East Welder Street for over 30 years. When fires spread through his neighborhood a couple weeks ago, there was nothing he could do.
When I backed out of my driveway and hit that, I could see all the fire just rolling.
I was there with Baker when first responders evacuated his entire street as they worked to put out the fires. It wasn't until later he saw his house on Chris 6 News.
The smoke started clearing, and the houses come on TV. Wow.
That's Baker's house and his grandson's house next to the 4 homes that burned down on East Welder Street. Ben Gonzalez with the Texas Department of Insurance tells me wildfires are happening all over.
We've been getting a lot of calls about wildfire from not just the Corpus area, but also in the Panhandle and other areas where they've had large-scale fires.
The Texas Department of Insurance advises to make a defensible space around your home.
Make sure that there's nothing flammable that's piled up against your home. Don't have piles of leaves or firewood up against your home, because if embers start blowing around from a nearby fire, those things can catch on fire and spread to your home.
Other projects to do around the house: maintain your roof and gutters and clean your deck of any debris.
I get out and I take care of the grass and limbs, the gutters.
Aside from these projects to protect your home, you can also create an action plan. It's a checklist to help in the threat of a wildfire. You can find that on our website. That's kristv.com. In Sinton, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Victoria Valderrama, for Chris 6 News.
All right.
For over 40 years, Lazy Boys design experts have been helping people like you redesign.
If you live on Weber, you might be noticing that speed limits might be lowered. But could that mean that, you're going to break the speed limit or something? Here's my good friend Tony Halmir.
I'm Tony Hadamil, your neighborhood news reporter on the south side. Soon, part of Weber Road could be lowered to 40 miles per hour, and part of Ennis Jocelyn could be lowered to 35 miles per hour. So what do neighbors think?
I definitely think it'll make traffic safer, since we've got that pretty steep curve coming from the freeway passing Aaron, because people have been so used to going 45.
One of the proposed speed limit changes is on Weber between Saratoga and the Oso Creek Bridge, lowering the limit from 45 to 40 miles per hour. Martin Salazar owns a business that faces Weber.
We do see quite a bit of speeders through here on a daily basis, all day long, but more so in the afternoon.
The other proposed speed limit change is on Ennis Jocelyn between SPID and Ocean Drive. The proposed ordinance would lower the speed limit to 35 miles per hour all along that stretch. Many TAMUCC students use the Ennis Jocelyn corridor to go to and from the university.
If they pass it, I just think that they should think about this a little bit more trying to get traffic out. Like, I don't know if there's a way to direct traffic where it wouldn't get so backed up over here, especially if they're lowering the speed limit.
I could see it being an issue with many people in the area, because I know it's a pretty busy spot. Everyone's trying to get to work, to school. So, I don't know. We'll see.
According to TxDOT, they requested these changes to City Council with safety in mind. TxDOT performed a study examining crashes, driveway density, bus stops on Weber and Ennis Jocelyn. The speed limit change passed its first vote at Tuesday's City Council meeting.
In the interest of safety, they reduce it to that speed so that way anybody that's traveling faster doesn't cause any accidents.
The second vote for the proposed speed limit changes is scheduled for Tuesday, March 25th. On the south side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
And we'll know by then. All right. Do you ever feel like there should be a sidewalk on North Beach? Maybe then you want an answer to where you want a sidewalk everywhere. Well, the New Harbor Bridge is happening, and there is probably some new sidewalk happening. But if you live on North Beach, there's some great news. There could be a sidewalk coming to the North Beach if you live in the North Beach area. But now residents are saying we want better sidewalks and better neighborhood connectivity. So what does that mean for the North Beach neighborhood? Here's Alexis Scott.
Get closer and closer, to the street down there,
Yes.
and that makes it a little difficult because there's less and less space.
Myra Helm has lived at the harbors along North Beach for more than 20 years. She's raised a family, purchased a home, but says there's one thing that's missing in the area.
It's always been a concern that we didn't have any sidewalks to connect from one street to the other, right?
Last month, she wrote a letter to the Corpus Christi Metropolitan Planning Organization and TxDOT, asking them to consider a better solution for connectivity between neighborhoods and community amenities on North Beach.
With the harbor bridge coming in, then we have this whole linear canal coming in. They're going to have walkways on both sides. We're going to have the eco park. All of that is where our residents can go and enjoy where we live, right?
Lynn Frazier, the owner of Lighthouse Point Apartments, also wrote a letter expressing his support for better accessibility.
Yeah, it would be a whole lot safer if we had the sidewalks. And then there's so many other things over here, this RV park, these other condos and stuff. So that would make us a real nice walkway.
Both Helm and Frazier tell me families have been forced to ride bikes, walk dogs, and go for an afternoon jog right in the middle of the road. As more people move into the area and traffic increases, they're hoping the additional connectivity will allow families to safely enjoy all the North Beach neighborhood has to offer.
At this time, the Corpus Christi Metropolitan Planning Organization and TxDOT have not approved any plans for sidewalks or bike paths. Myra Helm and other North Beach residents are hoping to see progress in the future. On North Beach, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Alexis Scott, Chris 6 News.
So what are we going to expect? The whole disco dance on the North Beach? Bobby, get... You know what? Let me play the clip. Let me play a clip from... This joke would be... This joke would... This joke would help out.
Pizza! We're trapped by dishes! Don't worry, they've got new John Power suds. It traps, locks, and removes 99% of grease.
This joke would be in mind.
Bobby, get out of the street!
Hey, get out of the road!
Bobby, I can't have you disco dancing in the alley. People are going to think we didn't teach you shame, and I know we have.
Bobby, get out of the street! I mean, what would you expect me to do? Go disco dancing on the at North Beach? Where people won't even go jog? People are thinking they didn't teach me shame. And I know people have. So this would be me on North Beach or somebody jogging, and this would be the car trying to get to work and get back to the house. And this would be me trying to yell, hey, get out of the street.
Bobby, get out of the street.
Hey, get out of the road.
Bobby, I can't have you disco dancing in the alley.
That's gonna... That'd be...
Is this parental listening?
Get in the truck, son. Wow. We're gonna take a break. We're right back. Finally tonight, do you have a fear of getting to your flight on time? Remember the movie Home Alone when they're trying to hurry up to their flight? Well, maybe then you may know some times where you got to be at your flight by. You know, you may have to wake up at an earlier time to get to the airport to get to your flight. But by that time, you know, the flight's already gone. So how can you get to the terminal on time without worrying? Here's Judd Rose.
It's said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, if you're traveling by air, watch that first step. It's the airport. And if you think all you need is a ticket, you have no idea.
I have no idea what gate we're going to leave from. I have no idea if we're even going to get on the plane. I have no idea if they're going to put an adult by the 5 and 7-year-old. Nobody will tell you anything. You just have to wait, have to wait, have to wait.
No doubt about it, our airports have a weight problem.
You're not even flying today?
No. Consumer Reports said that if you make your travel arrangements 2 weeks in advance at the airport...
This line, we're all flying today.
Please, sir, if you don't get back on...
Then what? I'll be arrested? Put in airport jail?
Why bother? If you're at the airport, chances are you're not going anywhere for quite a while. Long lines, lost bags, bad food, hard seats, high prices, and announcements no one can understand. This much is clear. For travelers, what used to be an oasis has become an ordeal. Why? We decided to find out.
Okay, well now we're at, where are we?
At Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, the headaches start before you even arrive. DFW has 4 terminals, 2 belonging to American Airlines. As you arrive, there's an electronic sign that's supposed to tell you which flight is at which terminal, assuming you can speed read as you whip by at 55 miles an hour. We were looking for the next flight to Atlanta, but the sign wasn't even on. So we guessed and pulled into the first terminal we came to.
Yeah, I'm looking for the 1245 to Atlanta. What gate is that? Gate number 8 is the 2E terminal. Go north. Follow around, take the north exit, the 2E. So this is the wrong building. This is the wrong building. Thanks. South is that way, the West Hotel's that way, the North Airport exit is that way. But I still don't know where the other American terminal is, so we'll try all along. I think we screwed up. Looks like we're heading out of the airport. To get from the wrong terminal to the right terminal, now we have to make a loop of the entire airport. Hey, Terminal 2E. Hey, there's my plane. According to the odometer, it took us 4 miles. We had to go completely around the airport to get from the wrong place to the right place. I think we finally done it. By the time you get to the right gate, you feel like Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon.
If you think that's bad, try getting around here without a car. For instance, what if you're changing planes and you have to go to a gate at the other end of the terminal? The average terminal is a half-mile long, so there's a motorized cart for those in a particular hurry.
So people complain about the design of the airport?
Yeah, they're just pretty much lost as soon as they get here. They're just not, you know, it's so big.
That it is. DFW's terminals are spread along a 7.5-mile long road that runs the length of the airport. If you're trying to get from one terminal to another, there is a train.
Oh, no, we have to wait 10 minutes.
But let's say you're going from Terminal 3E to Terminal 4E, right next door. Well, you just walk. But you can't. There are no sidewalks. And the train goes only one way, the other way. So...
You gotta go all the way around. You can't catch a train going, all I do is go one terminal over, but I gotta go all the way around the whole airport.
A trip, by the way, that can take a half hour or more. What's wrong with DFW? Well, when it opened in 1974, it was hailed as the airport of the future, designed so you could park and then walk a short distance to your gate. Fine if you're starting or ending your trip here. Trouble is, 60% of those who use DFW are changing planes. You see, not long after DFW opened, deregulation transformed air travel. Fierce competition between airlines led to the hub system, where passengers are funneled through cities like Dallas en route to other places. That's more economical for the airlines, less convenient for you.
They bring you in on G, and your gate's always over K somewhere, so you have to run like heck to get from one gate to another gate, and half the time you don't have that much time, so we ran like crazy to get over here.
Jorge pone a sus seres queridos primero, y cuando se trata de cuidar sus dientes, deja su propio bienestar en el...
Hard to believe, but it wasn't so long ago that air travel was not only convenient, but downright glamorous. Passengers put on their best clothes to fly, and why not? It was a rare event. When a loved one flew, the whole family came out to witness the big moment. In fact, families often went just to sightsee.
When I was a boy in San Francisco, one of my favorite things to do was go to the airport. Sort of the way kids these days go to a mall. My mother would take me out there on weekends. I'd walk around the terminal, watch the jets take off. Imagine that I was the one who was going to some of those exotic cities listed on the departure board. Take kids to the airport these days, and chances are they'll be wide-eyed all right, but not with wonder.
I am angry.
This is not a lot of fun.
It's very boring.
That's true. Somehow, airports manage to be boring and stressful at the same time.
Wait a minute. I don't care about the plane. We're sitting here, that plane's in the air, and we have seats.
It's so aggravating. And then the food at the airport, just to feed the kids hamburgers, you know, like little hamburgers with nothing on them and little cokes, was almost $40.
You wonder, what do airport designers think about when they're planning these places? Well, we asked architect Helmut Jahn, who designed the United Terminal at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
I see an airport like some other small model of a city. The terminal is kind of the town square, and then you come in the concourse, the first concourse, and the concourse is kind of like a street. It's like a long street.
Emphasis on lawn. If you have a flight at the end of Concourse C, you have to hoof it through Concourse B, down an escalator, through a tunnel, up the other side, and through Concourse C to your gate. Total distance from curb to gate, nearly a half mile, part of which Jan has turned into a futuristic fantasy of pulsing neon and new age noise.
Something had to be created which made people feel that it was an extra bonus, an extra experience they got if they actually were lucky enough that they had to go through here.
So you've got to trick people into thinking that this is fun.
Of course, when your flight's been canceled and you have to spend the night at the airport, all the neon in the world won't help you stretch out and relax.
Why are chairs so uncomfortable in airports? Why couldn't you design something in an airport waiting area where people could lie down while if they have to stay overnight in an airport or wait for hours at a time?
You can't design an airport when all the planes are delayed and 50,000 people are in the terminal and they don't have a place to sit.
Well, all I can say is I hope you never have to wait 5 or 6 hours for your flight in the middle of the night. You're really looking for a place to lie down.
I don't plan to spend any nights in airports.
Well, that's a load off all our minds. Now, if we could just find the genius who's responsible for luggage carts. We mean, why is it that at European airports the carts are free, but at U.S. airports, if you can find one, you gotta pay first? We put that to Dave Flavin, who oversees operations at all the airports in the New York area.
The fact is that European airports function differently from ours.
Flavin pointed out that in Europe, airports are completely supported by the government.
In the United States, airports are much closer to private entities. They are required to be self-supporting, and they are required to be able to operate on their own without any tax subsidy. And in fact, we don't receive any tax subsidies.
How much can it possibly cost to subsidize luggage carts?
Today, the cost side of it is about $8.5 million a year.
For luggage carts?
For luggage carts.
But take heart, all you frustrated frequent flyers. There's a new airport scheduled to open this fall in Denver, the
that claims to have learned from the mistakes of other older airports. Richard Boulware, the man in charge of the $3 billion project, says it'll be better because it's bigger.
The amount of concrete that we will have put down on opening day with all the runways and ramps and taxiways is the equivalent of a single-lane highway from Denver to Chicago, Illinois.
That means more runways, which Boulware says will prevent the snow delays that plague Denver's current airport. There will be people movers to speed you between terminals. Instead of the usual greasy, overpriced food, a wide range of restaurants, and a high-tech delivery system to make sure your bags arrive when you do.
Is this traveler's heaven? Is this really going to be the answer to a frustrated flyer's prayers? If we're really doing our job right, we need to get them in and out of here fast as we can, because people don't come to an airport to have fun. They come to an airport because that's where the airplanes are.
True, but as we mentioned earlier, it used to be fun too.
Look, there we're flying, smoothly and swiftly.
Of course, that was back when air travel was just for the elite few. Last year, a record 470 million Americans traveled by air. It's as common as taking the bus, so it makes some sort of weird sense that airports now seem a lot like bus stations.
Travel is not glamorous.
Not anymore. No, the word that comes to mind now is
Stranded and lousy, but the boss here sounds right.
that's the spirit. Eat some of that junk food, curl up in one of those plastic seats, and make the best of it. What's the use complaining? You're at the airport now. Just have to get in line.
Hey, wait.
Anything else you want to know? If I had wings, I'd fly.
If you had wings, you'd fly. Kind of freaking crazy. I was on a plane once. I was on an airplane. I probably lost some of my hearing. That was almost 2 years ago. But I might have learned some of the experience, you know. But if I were to travel next time, bring earplugs, chew some gum, and be on time. I was on time for my flight, and believe me, I was okay. That's all for this edition. Give Me a Break. Tuesday going to Wednesday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Wednesday. Follow us on YouTube and Give Me a Break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Take care of yourself and each other. Have a good night.